Last week, I gave you my first impressions of my time with Bandai Namco's Ace Combat 7 Skies Unknown on the PlayStation 4. Now, after another week, I've had plenty of time to play it, so now I can give you a proper review. Skies Unknown is the latest entry in the long-running Ace Combat series. As with the other games, the events take place on an Earth-like world called Strangereal and follows the war between the Osean Federation and the Erusian forces. The story follows Avril Mead, a girl who ends up in prison for flying a plane she built in restricted airspace. She, along with the player character Trigger, serve their sentences at the 444th Osean Air Base to be used as decoys during the war to keep Erusian forces occupied. The story is very reminiscent of classic Japanese arcade games like House of the Dead, with the story being told with beautifully constructed stills and talented voice acting rather than expensive cinematics. I actually enjoyed playing the story mode of this game, which surprised me because, as I'd mentioned in my last review, flying games just aren't really my thing. The fun I had isn't just due to the in-depth story, but also to the flying system being extremely responsive, and that makes the game feel amazing to play. However, it does quickly become quite repetitive. The developers throw in a few different mechanics, such as flying to a target whilst dodging radar, but the game is mostly, there's your targets, go and shoot them. Saying that, the game did get quite difficult, which gave me a nice little challenge. The game has a fairly large skill tree, letting you unlock various new planes and upgrades, not just for the story mode, but for the multiplayer mode as well. Something that would be great to see in the future would be the ability to build your own plane, similar to car customization in Need for Speed. The multiplayer is set out in a similar way to a first-person shooter like Call of Duty. There are a few different battle modes such as Team Deathmatch and Battle Royale, and already the skill level of players is ridiculously good. Clearly the game has a dedicated fan base. I think the additional virtual reality mode is where the game really shines. I just cannot stop playing this mode. The game places you right in the cockpit of a fighter jet and it feels incredibly realistic. You feel every turn in your stomach, which is amazing, unless you suffer with motion sickness, that is. In the VR mode, because you can look around, it gives you much more visibility than the normal game, which is really helpful when an enemy is just flying loops around you. Unfortunately, this game has fallen into the same problem all VR games have. It's far too short. There are only 3 missions available to play in the VR, which is really disappointing. And you don't have access to the same skill tree, so there are only 2 planes available. Hopefully they have the sense to bring out VR downloadable content in the future, because I know I would snatch that up in a second. All in all, I really enjoyed playing Skies Unknown, a lot more than I expected, and was pleasantly surprised at the depth of the story. If you're into your flying games, this is a must-buy, especially if you have a PSVR headset.